I was getting recruited to play university football around a couple places in Canada, and
Okay.
I just decided to stay home and play at Windsor.
Okay.
And during the first season, I started dating a new girl, and I had a very big beard at the time.
Okay.
And after we started dating for a little bit, she asked me if I could shave my beard off.
Okay.
So after that, I found a lump on my neck while I was applying some aftershave, and didn't really feel normal, and decided to call my doctor just to be sure.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, how big a lump are we talking?
like less than a golf ball. Like, it wasn't big, but it wasn't like super small.
Less than a golf ball sounds pretty big.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to like probably a bouncy ball. Like it was enough where it wasn't sticking out all the way, but you could tell if it was completely round. That's probably how big it was.
Yeah. Okay.
So went to my family doctor, and he felt it right away, and he said, like, I really don't like the feeling of that, and he sent me for some tests, and came back about a month later that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay.
And I had no side effects, no symptoms, so it was really like a big shock. I've been a pretty elite athlete all my life. I played soccer, hockey, football, and I consider myself a pretty healthy person.
Right. But cancer doesn't always know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just didn't, at the time, you just don't know, right?
Right.
Like,
You don't expect that it happens to you, right?
Especially when, like, you're kind of an athlete, like, and
Right.
you come back from, like, an injury or something, it almost kind of makes you feel invincible in a way when you're young.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I can come back from that, I can
Right.
kind of get through anything, right? But it was a really big shock because nobody else in my family's ever really had cancer as well.
Right.
And they said it's Hodgkin's lymphoma, and they said it's not a very serious type of cancer, and 4 months of chemo would probably be doing the job.
Okay.
So I did about 4 months of chemo, and then after the 4 months, I had my checkups and everything. The cancer actually spread during those 4 months,
Okay.
and they decided to do a stem cell transplant for me.
Okay.
This type of stem cell transplant, they took out my own stem cells, froze them, gave me a high dose chemo to kill like a lot of stuff in my body, including the cancer,
Okay.
and then they put your stem cells back in to help you recover.
Right.
So that worked for about 3 months, and then at the time I noticed that the lump was coming back on my neck. But
Okay.
at that same time, I had a really bad pain in the back of my knee.
Okay.
So long story short, they did biopsies on both, and they were both two different types of cancers not related to each other at the same time.
Okay.
Which, at 20 years old, that's
That's pretty crazy.
very crazy and not super common.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was they removed the tumor from the back of my knee and did radiation to make sure it wouldn't come back, and that was very successful, still is to this day. And they decided to do what's called immunotherapy for the Hodgkin's. It's
Okay.
not exactly chemo, it's a lot less harsh, and it kind of prepares you for a stem cell transplant.
Okay.
So this time they decided to do a stem cell transplant where I had a donor. And they have a worldwide database. When you go donate blood, you can ask to be a stem cell donor as well.
Okay.
So in the entire world, I didn't have a single match.
So quick question. Like, I don't know how matching stem cells is. It just like blood type or?
So it's actually your HLAs, which are blood proteins.
Okay.
So blood type doesn't matter.
So how many combinations or variants are there?
I'm not really too sure. I didn't really ask that personally, but basically,
But if in the whole world there's no one that matches you, that's
pretty rare.
Yeah.
You would think, right?
Is it because the type that you have is rare, or is it just because like there's
I would
just hard
say,
to find?
yeah, it was the type that I had was pretty rare.
Okay.
So, like, it would work as even if we had, like, my donor, who ended up being my dad, was the same blood type as me. But if
Right.
we did do it, and we had different blood types, I actually would have got his blood type when all was said and done.
I see.
But, yeah, we did the database search and came back for nobody, and my mom couldn't donate because she has, like, an autoimmune disorder.
Okay.
My sister was my half-sister, so that wouldn't be a good enough match. And my dad wasn't 100%, what they call 100% match.
Okay.
He was enough of a match to be able to do the process, though.
Okay.
So we went there. We went to Hamilton for that because they don't do it anywhere really near here up until Hamilton.
Okay.
So I was in a hospital for about a month and a half. During the process, what they do is they took my dad's stem cells out, and then they give me high-dose chemo and then high-dose radiation head to toe, kind of.
So how do they take his stem cells out, and how do they give them to you?
So they have a new process now. Instead of getting it right out of the bone, your stem cells, because that's where your stem cells are what make cells.
Right.
So what they do is they give a shot. I think it's called Neupogen, if I'm not mistaken, because stem cells aren't naturally in your blood. So what the Neupogen does is it makes you overproduce stem cells so that they're actually found in your blood.
Okay.
So what they did is they hooked up one IV in one of his arms and one IV in the other, and the blood would come out one, and it would go through a machine, and the machine would filter out the stem cells, and then when it would come back out, the blood would go back in him.
Okay.
So that's how they harvest your stem cells.
All right.
So after that, they do the high-dose radiation, the chemo for me, and then after that, they give you your stem cells, my dad's stem cells, and you have to go through an engraftment period. So it takes time for the stem cells to go into your body, find your bones, go in there, settle down, and then start producing cells.
Okay.
So once the cells start producing, they start fixing everything the radiation, the chemo destroyed, other than the cancer, obviously. Because the thought is that my dad's a healthy person, so his cells wouldn't create those cancer cells that my body was creating.
Right.
And I was in the hospital for a month and a half, and then after the month and a half, I had to live in Hamilton for 3 months in an Airbnb because you had to go in every morning to get your blood tested.
Okay.
So they would do test my blood and say my magnesium was low, they'd give you an IV through it, your calcium or whatever, or even like your blood counts, you get blood.
Right.
And then it's been about 3.5 years since that happened, and I'm still cancer free. But I do deal with side effects from the stem cell transplant. The main one is called graft-versus-host disease.
Okay.
So my body kind of sees the cells that my dad's stem cells create as kind of a foreign body almost.
Right.
And I get a reaction. It's not the worst reaction you can get, but I almost get like psoriasis type deal, like on my skin.
All the time.
Yes, but I'm currently on medications that suppress it.
Okay.
But the medications are a lot, and you can't really stay on them your whole life. So currently we're looking in the process. We were before the pandemic, but once the pandemic hit, we kind of had to put it on hold.
Okay.
It's called photopheresis, where I'd go up to Toronto on like a Tuesday, and they'd take my blood out.
Yeah.
Or part of my blood, and then overnight they would treat it with UV light, and then I'd go back on the Wednesday morning and get the blood put back in. And that, over time, up to a year of doing that every week, would cure that graft-versus-host disease.
Man, that's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I feel a lot better. Like, I feel like myself. I'm energetic. It's just, the medications that I'm on, I need to get off them because they, suppress my immune system quite a bit, too.
Right.
Which, during COVID's not the greatest thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Although I just did get vaccinated last Monday through the cancer clinic.
Okay. So, are you still, active in, sports, or no?
No, not sports. I do coach.
Okay.
I help coach football.
But you had to quit
school.
Because of your condition?
Yeah, as soon as I was diagnosed with cancer, I had to quit football.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you ever, think about getting back into sports, not necessarily football, but anything, or?
In a coaching sense, yes, but, playing, maybe hockey, maybe a beer league, just, just to stay active and stuff
Right.
like that. I have gotten to cycling a lot lately.
Okay.
Try to keep myself in shape.
Alright, so...
And I kayak quite a bit, too.
Solid.
Yeah. So it's been, all that happened in the last 6 years, about.
But you got through it.
Yeah.
And you're here.
Yeah, somehow.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
You are now, done with a portion of your life.
Yeah.
The rest is ahead.
Yeah.
Any takeaways from?
I definitely, being close to dying definitely makes you change your outlook on life. I think anybody.
How so?
I don't think I take as much things for granted, and not that I want to have a certain purpose in life, but I don't want to waste it.
Wait, so sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
you said like being so close to dying. Like, did they ever at any point give you like a time frame, like you're gonna die? Or
They said that if the stem cell didn't work, that was my last option. And
but this is the second round, right? Not the first time where they said a 4-month
this
procedure.
was at the second time they told me that like there's not really another option after that.
So they said if the stem cells don't work, like how long do you have? Did they give
They
you?
didn't give me a time frame just because we weren't at that point yet.
Right.
And they said the stem cell had a 50% success.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you feel when you heard this news?
I think it takes a while to sink in. Like when you first hear it, it kind of just goes in one ear and out the other, and then
it takes time to set it. All right.
Yeah, and it's just
So if you had to point out a couple things that you think you took for granted before, but you no longer do, what would you say those are?
enjoying myself a lot more and focusing on myself, making sure that I'm happy at all times.
So you think you weren't doing that as much before?
Yeah.
Why is that? Like, how?
Like, I don't know, like I just always went with the flow and like was okay with just doing anything else everybody else wanted to do, you know what I mean? I was content with kind of almost, I don't know, like what you describe like a social norm. Like I find in this area of Canada, yeah, you know, you grow up, you have to go to school after high school, you know, you get a good job around here and you have to buy a house and everything, and it's, you don't have to do those things, but there's almost like a pressure to do that, it feels like, because everybody else around, and I don't know, I kind of just want to have a more free life than that. I want to go do things, I want to experience things now.
So I'm just getting a little confused, because it sounds like from one end you're kind of saying that like what was expected, if you have a particular direction in life, and being so close to death has put you in a state where you don't think that that's as important, or what?
Like, I think it's more important to just focus on myself and do the things that I really want to do, or like that.
Like what kind of things are you talking about?
Like I'd like to travel.
I see. So just like living in the moment.
World. Yeah.
You know, I think like that all the time. Not because I was in a situation like yours, but I always think like, what if, you know, I died tomorrow?
Yeah. And I'm an avid outdoorsman. Like I like biking, kayaking, fishing. I'd like to do something along those lines. One of my dreams is actually to have a fishing show.
A fishing show?
Yeah.
That would be fun.
That'd be somewhere down the line, right?
Right. But, or now. Why not now?
Yeah, that's kind of why I got my kayak to start. I was planning on getting a GoPro this summer and maybe doing a YouTube channel myself.
That's not a bad idea, man. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta, you know, pull the lever before anything happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, best of luck, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hopefully everything turns out well for you.
Thanks.
Hopefully no big problems in the future.
Yeah, hopefully everything's
you
behind
can get that, you know, it gives you good perspective, right? Now you know what can happen and what you should do to, you know, cherish the time that you're here for.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
All right, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Take care. Good night.